Alright, so the first step we're going to do after we just cleaned out the airbrush, which allows a little bit of time for this to self-set, we're going to take the heat gun and heat it up. Well, you guys are welcome. I would rather see the results over thanking me. Thanking me is by posting results. That means you guys followed along. If you guys didn't follow along, that means you really didn't care about the class. So that actions speak louder than words. The other thing you guys could do is go down there. There's a Teaching Funds chip in. When you click on that and donate a little bit of money, it helps pay for the lost wages that I have when I teach you guys. Helps also keeps getting these panels and whatever else we need to get the projects done. And the other thing you guys could do is thank Ken Badger and AutoAir, Craig over at AutoAir, and those guys for sponsoring these classes. Alright, now we got to let the panel cool down. Right now I could touch it, but it's like the temperature of clothing that came out of a dryer. So... Huh, on my side it doesn't say it ended. No, it's not hot. No, it's not that hot. So, alright. Yeah, we'll get that taken care of, Doug. Thank you. Alright, so now what we're going to be doing is masking off our flag. Now it's rare that you guys really see me mask stuff off, but for certain features we need to mask it off. Now I'm using a company called High Stick fine line tape. This is a 1/4 inch thick. This will give me a clean edge. No, you do not want to paint on it while it's still hot. You want to let it drop back down to the ambient temperature of the room. You don't want to apply tape when it's hot. You don't want to do stuff like that because it'll mess with the adhesion of it. You want to wait for it to come back down to room temperature. So now this is how I would mask it if I'm working on a big large vehicle, is using the 1/4 inch fine line tape. Now since we're working on a small panel, we could actually cheat. How are we going to cheat? Well, there's two different ways of cheating. One way is using transfer tape, which is what we use for our sign stuff, and this is transfer paper. This is the paper version, and then there's also a clear version. Now when you're doing transfer paper on the side of a vehicle, it's nice to have help. If you don't have the help, then you're going to have to work in smaller pieces. If transfer tape rolls and sticks on itself, just don't even try to pull it all apart, just toss it and start over. Now there's a couple companies that have transfer paper that they call Automask. Coast Airbrush sells it. I think AutoAir has it. So now what I'm going to do is just lay this on here, stick it in one corner and work it to the side. See what happens when it sticks? It just rips. Okay, now I'm going to press this all down. Now, sign shops have special spreaders for signs. Which I have right here. It looks like this. It looks like a Bondo spreader, but it has two bars inside that are thick bars, and that helps with adhesion. I mean, that helps with force, which is the adhesion of this stuff. So now what we're going to do is just kind of spread this out. Now if you get some bubbles in it, it's not that big of a deal, but if you can work the bubbles out, that's even better. Okay, so that's all worked out. That's stuck down, and now we're pretty much done. So yes, Wiki asked, is painting in the sun a bad idea? Anything in direct sunlight is a bad idea, especially for your skin, for starters. And for secondaries, yes, your paint's going to skin over, especially if it's hot sun out there. So painting in the sun is a bad idea. Alright. So now we got this done. Now we're going to take a pencil and just kind of sketch out your flag design. Okay. So now if you notice, if you look at a flag has a lot of depth to it just by the nature of what the flag looks like. You got a piece of material that's rolling all over the place. So what I'm going to do is just kind of sketch out this flag. Now, everybody thinks a flag, every part of it has to be equal, and it's not true. That is so not true when you're working with different style flags. You got a piece of material that's folded up, wrapped up, and all different type of shape to it. The lines are not going to go straight. You might not even have some of the lines. So what I'm going to start here is this will be the red line. And you notice we're going to drop it real tight to this area here. Bring it back out and just bring it up underneath this roll here. Okay. Now we're going to take the next one and bring it tight here. Have it come down and just go straight here. Now the more you twist up these lines, sometimes the better it looks, sometimes the more confusing it is. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that some of this is nice clean lines. Now you can get real creative with some of them and have it to where it looks like the flag actually rolls over itself. So we're going to get a little complicated in this area here. Okay, now what I like doing is marking what color each line is going to be. Now what that helps is once you get into this complicated part where you start unmasking it all, then it'll help decipher what it is. Okay, so now we have our red and white stripes. This is going to be blue. What we need to do in that blue section is we're going to have to get the stars drawn in there. Now the stars drawn in is not that big of a deal. You do not need to make sure that it's perfect stars. If it's waving, just as all this extra material over here is going to be waving, so is this area. So you're going to get some weird looking stars up in this area. See, right here we're going to have a piece of material folded up like this. So these stars right here are actually going to be on top of each other. Now, one of the easiest ways for me to draw a star that's going to be somewhat straight is by drawing just the angles of the two triangles. And then that'll give you your star base, and then just go in here and figure out your cut lines. So now we have a star in here. It's basically a straight line, a little tiny barb coming off because it's folding. So drawing out the stars is one of the more time-consuming parts of this flag. Now, if you're not comfortable with drawing, you can plot stuff out using a plotter. But due to the fact that these stars don't have to be perfect, it's not like you're doing a graphic version of a flag, you're actually airbrushing a flag. So your lines don't need to be perfect. Everything is kind of, you know, wish-wash on how true it is due to the fact of the motion of the flag. Now we're going to have a fold in the fabric right along here. That's going to be a fold in the fabric. Now we're not going to cut that line out, we just need to remember where that line is. And it's going to show by how the stars are folded over. So basically that's our material right there, folding. Now we're going to do, right here we'll have a decent looking star. And now we're going to have one that folds off the material, because the material is going to fold right up in here. Now right here we just have just the tips of a star. Here the star is going to be actually cut in half. Be right down in here. That line will come right down in here. Cut that flag. Okay, so that's enough stars. I think that's good. I'll kind of show you how to do some edges. Yeah, I'm using a reference photo. I just Google flag and look it up and go off of that. If you want, like when I work on vehicles, I'll actually take an American flag and throw it on top of the hood. Let it fold up and roll exactly on the vehicle the way I want it. Photograph it, print it out, and then you have a reference photo there to work with. Okay, now comes the type of knife I use. I use a scalpel knife. This is a scalpel, just like any medical scalpel. It's a hard stainless steel blade, and the stainless steel blade stays sharper a lot longer than X-Acto blades. X-Acto blades are a little bit cheaper, but not as much as this stays sharp. So I like using this. The weight of the stainless steel handle is nice. It weighs it down enough to where you feel comfortable in your hand. You're not holding something. Now if you're doing a whole bunch of real thin cuts, these blades pop off, and you can put these blades inside a round X-Acto knife, and it'll clamp down on it. So you can use this for sharp round corners also. But on this we're using something to where it's pretty sharp and square. So we're just going to come in here and start cutting out the American flag. I want to welcome everybody on Blog TV for coming in here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just sit there and work off each section of this as I go to know that I'm cutting deep enough. Now you don't want to cut too deep. If you're working on canvas or something like that, you want to get that real delicate touch. And that's why a sharp blade makes a big difference. The sharper the blade, the better. So what I'm doing is I'm just light pressure, just sitting there cutting this out. Now this could be a mailbox, this could be anything you guys want to airbrush on. It doesn't have to be, this is just a dog sign that we're working on, a beware of dog, or no trespassing sign. They have all different versions at Walmart that is pretty cool. Now, when you're cutting out stars for the American flag, you get these really warped flags where the flag is folded up on top of itself. So you don't want every single flag every single star to look perfectly straight. If you have it to where it looks perfectly straight, it doesn't match the rest of the flag. So while you're cutting out these flags, think about that. Think about the stars, the way that if the material was actually here, how it would warp and kind of throw everything off. Now see, I'm cutting these nice straight even stars. When we get done with this, these stars are going to look like they're embroidered. So we're just using this to spray our blue in to keep our star sections white. So we're not putting white over blue. Now once again, we're using transfer paper. You can use tape. If you have 3-inch tape, you can use tape. Or if we're doing a side of a vehicle to where you're doing a big long area, you can use masking tape with fine line, blue fine line tape. So, anybody got any questions about this class that we're working with? So what this is it's a class on Blog TV that we do that is every Saturday at 2 o'clock Pacific time, and we teach airbrushing here. We basically any type of fun creative painting. If you don't have an airbrush, you can follow along with colored pencils, markers, craft paints. If you had a mailbox or a birdhouse or something you wanted to paint up with the American flag, this class is on the American flag. It's actually more about the detail of the American flag, more than just the American flag. So we're working with an embroidered flag. A lot of people in the South like doing the Confederate flag. Texas is real big on doing their Texas state flag. So if you guys are interested in learning how to airbrush, custom paint, this is the place to hang out on Saturdays. Blog TV is nice enough to feature us and do these classes with us, allow us to show everybody on how to do some airbrush stuff. I'm recording this class, so anybody that wants to come back and check it out, they're welcome to. We just ask that you rate and subscribe the show, so I can see how you guys are enjoying this, and it also lets Blog TV know that the class is also liked. Blog TV doesn't have Nielsen ratings, so we can't go put a box in everybody's house and sit there and see how we're doing. It's up to you guys to actually let us know how we're doing. Alright, so with this masked off, now we're ready to spray our blue in here. Now remember where our lines are for our fold marks. This is going to be very important right now. Okay, what I'm going to use is a blue right now. Now if you guys want to get real fancy, we can get into pearls and metallics. But for this class, I'm just going to do just a regular blue. I'm going to use Spectratex blue, which they have a nice deep blue called Patriot blue. Auto Arrow would be called deep blue. Wicked would be deep blue. I think they have a deep blue. If not, it'll just be their dark blue. Wicked has one called Detail Cobalt Blue, which is pretty close. It's a little bit more violet than what I'm using, but not much. So I'm going to put a couple drops in. Now Spectratex right out of the bottle sprays nice. You really don't need to reduce it any. So we won't have any problems with that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to work on the dark areas, the folded over areas of the flag. And the fold areas are right on this edge here, this leading edge. It folds over, and then right down the center of these messed up looking stars is going to be our fold area. And bring the fold right down just like that. Okay, now if you notice, I'm working these dark areas first. I'm going to work out the center of the folds, the deepest areas of this blue first. Now there's a reason why. You'll see that in a couple seconds. Now that we have our darkest areas of folds, now we're going to start from these areas and build off of those areas. We're going to leave this dark, and we're going to start bringing that dark edge and slowly just start fading that color out off that dark edge. Okay, once again we got the dark edge here, and we're just going to sit there and slowly fade off that dark edge. Dark edge, we're just going to fade off that dark edge. So now, as you notice, I'm starting to paint the blue of the flag just by slowly working this design in. So I was asked if I have a reference photo, and yeah, I do. I have a reference photo just on the monitor of the screen. I'm just kind of glancing at. But I've done a lot of American flags on vehicles. I looked right here and I missed a piece peeled out, so now I got to go in there and get that set back in there. I've done a lot of American flags on vehicles and Harley tanks, so I kind of basically know the whole shape. I like having a reference photo just for my light and dark areas. So now we're just working these folded areas. Now if you look here, I have a high arc here, which I'm going to bring a dark edge right in here. That's going to make that part look